My name is Dan Powell. I've been in the program for 2.5 years, I think, and I'm doing DIS and mechanical engineering. When people ask me about DIS, it depends on who I'm talking to, but usually I say, it's like product design, but there's this emphasis on the social aspects. So it's not just product design. It's kind of like this broad spectrum of different kinds of design. And we get to learn about all of them, which is sweet. When I first came to the program, I knew I wanted to be doing something. I wanted to be part of something big. And engineering wasn't quite doing it for me. And I heard about DIS when I was halfway through my first semester as a mechanical engineer. And I was like, wow, this is totally, I thought engineering was what I wanted to do. And then I heard about DIS and I was like, okay, that's definitely what I want to do. And when I first walked in, the first class I walked into was Design, Culture, and Society, where you learn about the history of design. And I walked in and it was just the environment, the vibe was so right. It was it just felt like a bunch of people who were like me, in that, they wanted to be part of this, big thing that wasn't just engineering, it wasn't just a career or a job that they were going to be doing, but everyone was passionate about it. And yeah, so I think when I first joined, I was excited, and I still am. Yeah, I think the passion that all the students have is definitely unique to the program. Because you're working, you're all thinking on the same plane already, where it's you want to be innovative, you want to be creative, you want to be pushing the envelope all the time. And you're not just doing the projects to get an A, you're doing the projects because you want to do something awesome. And it's the project gives you these constraints and you're like, okay, let's get going, And yeah, working with people who are willing to stay up really late at night with you working on stuff, that's really awesome. And yeah, I think, we can all work, I can work with anybody in my class, and probably the classes above and below us, because we all just have this understanding, and it's really cool. I don't know if I have a favorite studio. They're all different, and the cool part, that's the cool thing about them, is that, you think you've learned it all, and then you get to the next studio and it's completely different experience, and you're like, wow, I really still know nothing. And that's kind of a cool, analogy to what it's going to be like when we're out of school. Because it's not like you go to school and you learn and then you stop learning and then you go to your career. It's your career is all about learning. I want to be learning for the rest of my life, and I don't want to stop here. And I'm being taught that while I'm here, They're teaching you that learning doesn't stop after you're out of school. Studios taught me to learn how to learn. Because it's you've got to be hungry in order to, really do a good job on something. And so, in Studio 5, we were basically handed these Arduino microcontrollers, and he was just figure it out. And so we were like, okay, we'll go on the Arduino website and download some sample code, see what happens. And it's just everyone is working together to do that. And so for example, when I was at Hasbro, I did a 6-month co-op at Hasbro last year. And a lot of the projects, okay, so we're working with, what I did was we were working with new technologies that hadn't been put into toys before. And so, if we haven't seen them, I haven't seen them, I don't understand them. So from the very first day, they're check out this tech, and they explained it to me, and I had to learn it, and then I had to test it, and I had to learn how to put it in. I had to figure it out myself. It was my job to take this technology and put it into toys. And so I was PDI helped me, or DIS helped me, because I knew what I needed to do. I always feel like I haven't made the world a better place yet. And I think that's the best part about this program, is that it teaches you that you're never done. It's not like, all right, I've done my contribution and I'm going to retire now. Yeah, like when I talk to some people who have retired, and we have these conversations about the future, and they're like, it's your generation's job, to fix the world and change it. And I'm like, why aren't you still working on it? It's like you're going to be around for a little while longer, and you have way more knowledge than I do. Like, why aren't you doing anything? And so, I look at them and I see myself being that old, and I'm like, that's not where I don't want to be telling my grandkids, so it's we made this mess and you gotta clean it up. Like, I did my part and I'm done now. I don't ever want to be done changing the world. And I don't think anybody else in this program does either. I think we all have the same drive to really make a difference and to never finish making a difference. So right now, I feel like I haven't done anything. Like I'm barely halfway through college, and I was learning stuff in high school and not really doing anything productive. And I've started doing some productive things, but I feel like the productivity and the changing the world stuff has just begun. I think one of the coolest things about this program is that it brings together a bunch of different, like, you're not just doing design, you're not just here as a designer, you're here as, like, I'm here as a mechanical engineer, but there's other people here as management majors, there's other people as business majors, there's electrical engineers, there's like a whole, it's like you're working with a bunch of people who think differently but have the same goal of making a difference. And that's really cool because when you're going out into the world after you're done at school, you're not working with a bunch of people, hopefully you're not working with a bunch of people who think exactly like you do. And so learning how to communicate with people who have vastly different backgrounds is a hugely important skill to have. And we're learning that right now every day that we have studio. And not only are we like learning with them, but we're like working with them, We have projects all the time, and you're thrown into these projects with people that have totally different education. They're learning different things right now, and they're, you're learning how they're applying their knowledge. And so when you go out into the field, you can figure out, you've already got knowledge that helps you connect on a much deeper level with other people. I like the variety of professors. I don't know if there's one that I like the most in particular. Like, Professor Swarzy is, most people think he's crazy because, he's always, like, the thing he teaches you is you've got to be able to suspend judgment on feasibility when you're brainstorming. Like, you don't shoot down an idea because you can't immediately think of some reason why it would work. Oh, okay. So yeah, Professor Swarzy is like, everyone thinks he's crazy, and, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, don't understand him at first because he's telling you, come up with these wild ideas that are revolutionary and, totally go against, the traditional thinking. And it's like really important to be able to think like that and then to bring yourself to reality, because obviously you're not going to change the world in a day. But if you start thinking like you're going to, then you can think about what is the problem I'm really trying to solve here, and then you're working yourself down into more specifics and figuring out, okay, so what do I actually need to do today, right now, that could actually make a difference. And so it's like it's always having that vision of what you're trying to accomplish that you learned from Professor Swarzy. Steiner, yeah, Professor Steiner is kind of he's like he's just a mechanical engineer, right? So Professor Steiner is like, the one who gets you to follow the steps of the design process. And that's important because it's good to have the structure of, being able to think really broadly about things, but, knowing that there's a structure, there's a method to your madness. But it's important to have the madness too. And so Professor Steiner helps you with the method part of that, and really, making sure that you're gonna, when you finish your project, you're actually gonna have something to show for yourself, and not just a bunch of thoughts and ideas that you had. Professor Nuzma is like a really articulate guy, and he teaches you to be articulate yourself, because he's always asking you about every single design decision that you made in the process of designing. And that's super important, like you've got to design intentionally. It's not like, oh, we colored it green because his favorite color is green. It's like, we colored it green because, and all these reasons. And if you don't have reasons, you get hammered on it, because it's really important to have that kind of thinking, to make sure that there's a reason behind everything that you design. And I definitely feel like I've become, at least I desire to be more articulate because of Professor Nuzma. I don't know if I definitely am not at his level, and it's going to take me a while to get there, but yeah, I guess he serves as a good professor and also a good role model of, what I'd like to. When people ask me what I want to do when I graduate, I usually tell them I have no idea, because I don't. But that's the really cool part about this major, is that it gives me, I have so many options. There's so many things I could do. Like I'm not just going to do an engineering job. In fact, I don't want to do an engineering job. I want to be working with people from totally different disciplines. And I don't want to be doing the same thing for very long. I don't think I could handle that. But just having all those options really is, like, that's the best part. Like, I don't want to be doing one thing, and I don't want to be forced into doing one thing. And this major totally doesn't constrain me at all. It doesn't limit what you can do after school. And I think that's a beautiful thing.